The opening level in a video game is one of the most important things that developers need to get right. First impressions are everything, and for a lot of us, the introduction and opening hours will either sell us on the game or send us packing. Now that we're deep into spooky season, I thought it'd be fun to talk about some of the best opening levels in video games, but for this video, I'll be focusing on horror games and other titles that are generally perfect to play around Halloween. But before we jump into the games, I do want to emphasize, this isn't a definitive ranking or list. You can put these games in whatever order you want. And there's a hell of a lot more games than just these 5 that have amazing opening levels. And if you guys like this video, I'll be glad to do more just like this until you're all sick of me. As always, if you're new to the channel, thanks for checking out the video. And if you're already subbed, welcome back. But that's enough yapping. Let's get to the nearest save room and let's get started.
You were born to do great things. You know what? They were right.
I can't think of a better game to begin this video with than Bioshock, which to this day is one of the most immersive games I've ever played. Now sure, you could argue whether Bioshock is or isn't a horror game, but I would definitely put Bioshock in that category, and the opening level really helps drive that element home. Arriving in Rapture for the first time is a gaming memory that I'm sure a lot of us remember vividly. It's beautiful and haunting at the same time, and it's immediately clear that something really fucked up happened here. From your first run in with the Splicers, to facing off against your first Big Daddy, the opening level demands your attention and never really lets go. There is so much mystery and intrigue in Bioshock's level design, and the fact that they throw you into the remains of Rapture after its decline just makes us more curious to dig for answers. The opening level does a great job of introducing the many gameplay elements that we'll be using throughout the story, and we also get some great jump scares along the way. There are many great areas and moments in Bioshock's campaign, but I think the opening hour is what people remember most. There's no denying the impact that Bioshock had on the gaming industry, and our introduction to Rapture remains to this day as one of the best opening levels in gaming. Bloodborne is one of my favorite games of all time, full stop. I even have a Bloodborne tattoo, so I guess you can say things are pretty serious. For me and many other people, Bloodborne was peak FromSoft, and its opening level of Central Yharnam is not only one of the best areas in Bloodborne, but one of the best levels that From have created, period. It's a massive gothic city with countless buildings and cathedrals stretching high into the sky. There's also plenty of dark alleyways and traps for deranged townfolk to ambush you. It becomes immediately clear, right from the very mouths of the villagers, that you're not wanted here! Away! How's that for an impression? Pretty good, right? Pretty decent. Central Yharnam not only teaches us many of the game's mechanics, but also that we should be exploring every nook and cranny, as there are secrets and loot tucked away everywhere. It's also extremely interconnected, and as one of the largest levels in the game, it comes complete with tons of shortcuts, optional paths that you can not only take to get yourself some extra resources, but also just take in all the love and care that went into creating this masterclass location. Two of the game's best bosses are also located here, being the Cleric Beast and Father Gascoigne. Bloodborne is about as close as you can get to a horror-based RPG game, and that's also one of the reasons why I love it so much. We're still dying for a remake or even just a damn remaster, but for some reason Sony doesn't want free money. But even if we never get that remaster, Bloodborne still looks amazing. It really is a beautiful designed nightmare, and Yharnam remains one of the game's greatest opening levels of all time.
need to get your daddy on the phone.
Uncle Tommy, what time is it?
I need to talk to your dad now. There's something...
Uncle Tommy? Hello?
I don't think any of us were prepared for the prologue in The Last of Us to hit so damn hard. The opening level really is like living out a movie, as we get to experience the opening hours of a deadly viral outbreak. From the quiet moments getting to know our characters, to the ominous feeling that shit's about to hit the fan, and the chaos that ensues when all hell does eventually break loose. This level is so cinematic and so intense, and it really captures the desperation and panic that would quickly take over the population in a matter of hours. Whether you're playing the original, the remaster, or the remake, goddamn that is a lot of versions of this game, regardless, the opening level of The Last of Us is pretty much perfect. There's not much in the way of actual gameplay, but it does set the tone for the rest of the game, and reminds us not to get too attached to the characters. I think this prologue more than anything is an example of how important pacing is, as well as well-written characters. This intro is less than 20 minutes long, and in that short span of time, we have already formed a connection to the characters and get a pretty good idea of how emotional and impactful the story is going to be. And again, the pacing is perfect. We get moments of pure panic to quiet sections as our characters try to process the horror of what's actually happening, and we as players get to feel like we're along for the ride. The Last of Us is one of the best story-driven games of all time, and the opening prologue really helps cement its place as one of gaming's greats.
He's dead! God damn it! We're almost there. We're almost there, baby. They're getting through the fence! Keep going! Find a way out of here!
Here we go. Nice clean re-entry. Welcome to Aegis 7.
Imagine 6 months staring at that chunk of rock.
Now we're entering into real horror territory. The original Dead Space, and by extension, the remake, is in my opinion one of the scariest games out there. It truly feels like you're walking through a haunted house in real time, as necromorphs of all shapes and sizes burst out from vents and corner you from every angle. The opening level really captures the vibes from the Aliens films, which also happen to be some of my favorite movies of all time. In Dead Space, you step into the boots of Isaac Clarke, an engineer sent in with a small crew to fix the Ishimura, a planet-cracking mining ship that has mysteriously went dark. The opening level wastes no time, and things almost immediately go south. Just like Bioshock, the opening level does a fantastic job at showcasing the aftermath and keeping you invested with environmental storytelling and tons of scares. The necromorphs are relentless and need to be dispatched by cutting off their limbs, which was a really cool and unique mechanic at the time. The opening level in Dead Space serves as the perfect introduction to how combat works and how creepy and atmospheric this nightmare is going to be. Each level is a different section of the ship, and Isaac is essentially tasked with slowly bringing the Ishimura back online, as well as trying to see if his wife is still alive, I guess. The original Dead Space was such a breath of fresh air, taking what Resident Evil 4 did so well and spinning it into a sci-fi horror game unlike no other. I remember making many of my friends play the opening level in Dead Space, and many of them at the time couldn't cut it and found it too scary, and to me, that means they did a damn good job. Whether you're playing the remake or the OG, it remains one of the scariest games ever made, and a big part of that is how relentless that opening level is, teaching you nowhere is safe, every shadow, every vent, every corner could lead to your death.
Where's everyone going? Bingo?
Out of all the games on this list, Resident Evil 4 is likely to be a lot of people's favorite, including me. RE4 was the first horror game I really ever played on my own, and this was back in 2005 when I was in 8th grade. I'll never forget how stress-inducing that opening level was. Getting hunted down by the masked chainsaw villager will forever be a memory that will live inside my head. Obviously, we are playing the remake here, which in a lot of ways is the perfect reimagining of the original. But Regardless of which game you prefer, the introduction to Resident Evil 4 is, in my opinion, one of the best of all time. It's designed so well, it starts off slow, throwing only a few enemies at you at once, but by the time you get to the village center, everything gets turned up to 11. You're now facing dozens of villagers and a dude with a fucking chainsaw. It's so incredibly intense, and no matter how many times I replay it, it always gets me stressed out in the best way. There's no denying just how important Resident Evil 4 is to not only horror games, but third-person shooters as well. The previously mentioned Dead Space was directly inspired by RE4, and the way enemies reacted to being shot based on the location of damage was genuinely revolutionary at the time. It's crazy to think Resident Evil 4 debuted on the GameCube. That little tiny purple box produced one of the greatest games of all time, and one that would soon be ported and remastered to pretty much every single console on the damn planet. When I think of Resident Evil 4, I think of Leon being a badass. I think of his cheesy one-liners. I think of all the amazing moments and the intense boss battles, but almost more than anything, I think about screaming at my TV as I barricaded the cabin from the chainsaw guy, and the fact that after nearly 2 decades, very few games have even come close to hitting those kind of moments speaks volumes to what a classic game Resident Evil 4 is, and its opening level, to me, is easily one of the best of all time. Well, that's it, folks. Some of my favorite opening levels in video games, and these are perfect for Halloween and the spooky season, so if you still got some time left, be sure to try out these games if you haven't, or maybe replay them. And if you guys enjoyed the video, please consider throwing a like and a sub my way, so I know to do more videos like this. Let me know what some of your favorite opening levels are in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.